From homeless to millionaire, the journey of a black man. They say some stories sound too wild to be true. Like the one about a man who lived on the streets with nothing but a torn jacket and 2 cracked sneakers. Then somehow turned it all around and built a $1 million empire. But this isn't just any story. It's wrapped in mystery, sprinkled with moments that make you hold your breath. Meet Marcus. Nobody knew where he came from. One day, he was just another shadow, lurking in the cold alleys of the city, a sprawling maze of flashing lights and shattered dreams. No job, no home, his name whispered behind closed doors. Rumors swirled. Some said he was the kid from a good family who vanished. Others claimed he had secrets that could topple powerful people. The truth? Hard to find. What grabbed the city's attention was the strange way he carried himself. Even when everything was falling apart, his eyes burned with a fierce fire. People caught glimpses of Marcus scribbling notes under flickering street lamps, clutching a tiny notebook like it contained a treasure map. Then there were the nights when he disappeared for days, only to show up with ripped clothes replaced by sharp suits sewn from unknown hands. No one knew how, no one dared ask. One afternoon, on a rain-soaked corner, Marcus pulled a scared little girl out of the cold, a moment captured by a passerby on a shaky phone camera. The girl's wide eyes filled with tears, trembling as she gripped his jacket. That video exploded online, people debating who the girl was and what miracle had pushed Marcus to risk everything for her. And then the rumors twisted darker. Some whispered about someone chasing him, danger from his past catching up. Others swore they saw him slipping secret packages through back doors, deals with shadows. Yet, how could a homeless man build a $1 million business? There's something about Marcus that no one could explain. The city watched, puzzled and captivated. How far would this strange twist of fate take him? And who exactly was the girl who vanished into his story? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As the sun set behind the skyscrapers, casting long shadows across the city, Marcus felt a strange pull in his chest. The moment lingered, like a secret he hadn't yet uncovered. He stood on that rain-soaked corner, thoughts swirling around the girl who had stumbled into his life. Who was she really? The city buzzed with gossip, but no one seemed to know the truth. He'd saved her from the cold, but what had she saved him from? Just then, a shout broke through the air, sharp and urgent. A man, his face twisted in rage, charged down the street, clothes disheveled, eyes wild. "Marcus!" he bellowed. The crowd stirred, murmurs rising like steam from the ground. Faces turned, eyes wide with horror and intrigue. Marcus froze. The man was familiar. He locked eyes with him, and time seemed to collapse. The fierce fire in Marcus's eyes flared and dimmed. He took a step back, breath catching in his throat, as if the air had been knocked from his lungs. "Get away from him!" a bystander yelled. But Marcus remained still, his thoughts racing. The man stumbled closer, trembling, fear and desperation written across his features. "You don't understand! You have to listen!" Then it happened. Out of nowhere, the girl appeared, her small frame slipping through the crowd like a whisper. Her eyes were wide, reflecting something dark, a truth that threatened to shatter the moment. "No!" she cried. "Don't hurt him!" People gasped. Whispers of confusion ignited around them. The ripple effect of disbelief swept through the onlookers like a sudden gust of wind. Who was this girl? What was she doing? The man reached Marcus, grabbing his arm with a grip like iron. "You have to remember, they're coming for you!" Panic surged through Marcus's chest. His heart raced. Memories flashed. A life before the streets. Faces he had tried to forget. Promises buried deep. Secrets scarred into his soul. "Who are you?" Marcus managed to whisper, every word heavy with doubt. The man opened his mouth to speak, eyes darting to the girl. "Your brother, he's alive. He's been searching." Marcus felt the world tilt. A brother? He had thought he was alone in this dark abyss, battling demons no one else could see. The girl's eyes held his, her fear intertwining with his confusion. But before he could respond, before the full weight of that revelation settled in, a sudden flash of light erupted from the alley, loud and crackling. A boom echoed, sending the crowd diving for cover. "Run!" someone screamed. In that chaos, everything changed. The man released his hold, the girl fell back, and Marcus stood there, rooted in shock. He could feel the ground shake under the pressure of new truths, tangled with the threat of danger. The city blurred around him. Everyone was shouting, scrambling to escape, but all Marcus could think about was the brother he didn't know he had, and the shadowy figures that were now crashing through the crowd, intent on something or someone. What did it all mean? What had Marcus stumbled upon? As he turned, adrenaline coursing through him, he knew one thing for certain. The stakes had just been raised, and he was about to lose everything he thought he knew. One moment, the city buzzed with whispers around Marcus. The next, everything shattered. As he walked away from the rain-soaked corner, a chill swept through the crowd. He was headed toward a place no one knew. A dim alley behind an old bookstore that smelled of mildew and forgotten pages. Rumors brewed louder. What secrets did he carry? What was he hiding? Suddenly, the world erupted into chaos. A scream sliced through the air. It was the girl, the same little girl he'd pulled to safety moments before. She stumbled into the alley, eyes wide, breathless, gasping for help. Behind her, dark figures loomed, faces obscured and menacing, moving like shadows nearing their prey. Marcus's heart raced. He rushed toward her, his mind a whirlwind. "What's wrong?" he shouted, trying to keep his voice steady. But fear tightened his throat. Before she could answer, the shadows lunged. A burly man, dressed in dark leather, grabbed the girl, yanking her back. "You shouldn't have interfered, Marcus," he growled, eyes glinting with malice. "Let her go!" Marcus screamed, fists clenched. Suddenly, the courage he'd carried for so long faltered. A cold wave of dread washed over him. He recognized the man. The whispers he tried to shake off surged back. Fear surged through the crowd. Unease rippled, expressions shifting from confusion to horror. "Who are you?" a voice shouted from the crowd, stunned faces turning to Marcus. They were startled and confused, but Marcus couldn't answer. He felt something twist inside him as memories flooded back. Dark days filled with betrayal and desperation. Whispers from those he'd trusted. The girl's terrified pull at his jacket felt like a chain around his heart. "Tell them the truth," the girl cried, her voice cracking. "You're not who you say you are." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Marcus froze. The weight of her words crashed over him. A tidal wave of panic. She knew something. Something that could unravel everything. Then the ground shook as sirens blared in the distance. The men in leather were torn between flight and confrontation. ... A dogged desperation glinted in the burly man's eyes. "Get her!" he shouted. But the moment froze. Time stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Marcus looked at the girl. The cold realization crept in. She was more than just a scared child. She was the key, the missing piece. "Marcus, please!" she pleaded, her voice a fragile echo breaking the stillness. "You can't let them take me." In that instant, an explosion of emotions hit him. He dropped to his knees, feeling the weight of choices he regretted. Fear, hope, guilt, an avalanche. He had risen from the ashes, but now everything was poised on the edge of collapse. The city held its breath, watching, waiting, judging. "What did you do? Who is she?" a voice cut through the chaos. People murmured, confusion building like thick smoke. Trust frayed. Marcus glanced at the girl one last time. His heart raced. The truth spun silently in the air between them, heavy and cold. Then, before he could grasp the enormity of it all, the sirens grew louder. Pow! The shadows slinked back, threatened, forcing him to make a choice. The girl stood trembling, and the eyes of the city watched, hungry for answers. In that moment of certainty and confusion, everything started to change. How deep did his secrets run? And what was the girl's part in this twisted tale? Marcus knew, somehow, this was only the beginning. Marcus stood there, heart racing, caught between the girl's pleading eyes and the chaos unfolding around him. The dark figures seemed to pull back for a moment, uncertainty flashing on their faces. But he could feel the air crackle, heavy with tension, and the sirens growing louder. "Tell them the truth," the girl pressed again, her voice trembling, nearly drowning in the noise. The crowd seemed to close in on him, anxious faces shifting like shadows. I couldn't," Marcus stammered. He felt the ground beneath him shifting with every heartbeat. The girl stepped closer, desperation painting her tiny features. Please, you have to understand, she whispered urgently. You're not just saving me. You're saving yourself. Her words hit hard. A chain reaction of emotions tightened in his chest. Fear, confusion, and all-consuming dread. What do you mean? He asked. But before she could reply, the burly man surged forward again, eyes wild. Enough of this. He lunged, roaring. I'll take her whether you like it or not. In a split second, time stuttered. Marcus reacted. He pushed the girl behind him, ready to shield her. Get back! He shouted, launching forward to confront the threat. It was then, amid the rising tension and the frantic cries from the crowd, that the world exploded into chaos. The sound of a gunshot cracked through the air. Silence dropped like a stone. Everyone froze. The crowd gasped, shock slicing through the atmosphere like a razor. Marcus's heart dropped. He turned slowly, horrified at what he saw. The burly man crumpled to the ground, clutching his leg, blood seeping through his fingers. A figure emerged from the shadows, sudden, unexpected, wearing a mask. The city buzzed, voices overlapping like a jumbled mess. Fear twisted faces into masks of disbelief. Who are you? Someone shouted, voice trembling. The masked figure moved closer, focusing on Marcus, locking eyes like an arrow hit its target. You won't remember me, the figure said, voice distorted, reverberating with an eerie chill. But I remember you, Marcus. A wave of recognition crashed through him, mingled with confusion. What? His voice cracked, the air heavy with disbelief. What do you want? The masked figure stepped into the light, revealing a flash of something familiar, an unmistakable shimmer in the eyes. It's not just about her, they said, voice low, but every word laced with power. It's about family choices. Your brother, he's not just alive, he's the reason you're hunted, the reason everything is falling apart. The girl gasped. No, she cried, her small voice cut with betrayal. You said he was dead. Lies unraveling, Marcus felt the ground beneath his feet shift. What do you mean? He demanded, panic surging. Memories, long buried, clawed to the surface. Family secrets. Betrayal. The weight of a lost brother. The truth felt like shards of glass in his throat. The masked figure stepped back, the tension palpable. You were meant for something greater, Marcus. But your fear, your past, it ties you down. Break it. Break the cycle. Just then, another figure burst into view, the sharp silhouette of a man. More muscular, confident, his eyes scanned the chaos. Get down, he barked, and the realization washed over Marcus like ice water. This man wore his brother's face, but this time he wasn't a ghost. He really was alive. What have you done? The masked figure shouted, stepping in front of the girl. Protect her! Everything exploded into motion again. Sirens blared, shadows moved, and Marcus stood in the eye of a storm, torn between a brother who had returned to haunt him and a girl who held the key to his future. What now? He thought, as their collective secrets began to untangle and the shadows loomed larger than ever. He glanced at the girl, heart pounding. What did you mean? What's your connection to all this? But before she could answer, the shadows closed in again, and Marcus braced for the storm that was just beginning. As the rain fell heavier that evening, Marcus stood on the street corner, the chill nipping at his skin. The crowd had gathered around the video that had taken viral. Some were staring with wonder, others with suspicion. But all eyes were on him. The little girl he'd rescued earlier had not just been a fleeting moment. She was significant. But the weight of that moment was about to shatter everything. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. A tall man, his face obscured by a hood, stepped forward. Marcus felt an icy grip around his heart. It couldn't be. Could it? The murmurs in the crowd shifted, a ripple of tension in the air. "Marcus!" the man shouted, his voice cutting through the murmuring whispers. "Stay back!" Marcus shouted, instinctively placing himself in front of the little girl, as protective and fierce as a lioness. The crowd gasped, eyes darting between Marcus and the stranger. "There's no way out!" the man declared, stepping closer. "You think you can just disappear? You think they'll let you go?" The angles of Marcus's face tightened, shadows deepening under his cheekbones. "What do you want?" he challenged, trying to mask the fear that coursed through him. "Your secret is out, Marcus. They know. They know everything." Nervous glances flew through the crowd. Whispers picked up like the wind. Panic rising in the corners of their eyes. "What secret?" people asked, confusion and intrigue mixing in their whispers. But the man only smiled, a cruel twist of his lips. "You've been playing a dangerous game. You can't just sweep it all under the rug. Not now." A cold sweat ran down Marcus's back. The truth felt more fragile than glass. "Leave the girl out of it," he shouted, pointing. "This isn't her fight." But the man chuckled darkly. "You should worry about yourself, not her." "You think being a hero will make everything disappear?" "They want their money back, Marcus. All of it." At that moment, the atmosphere shifted. A heavy silence fell. The crowd held its breath, caught in the web of uncertainty and fear. Was Marcus a hero or a fraud? Did he build his empire through strength or trickery? "Money? What are you talking about?" Marcus pressed, his voice strained but desperate. Each word felt like a lifeline slipping through his fingers. The man stepped so close that Marcus could feel the heat radiating from him. "You know what you did. You think you're just a street kid with a dream. But you're more than that. You're a ticking time bomb." Just then, the sound of sirens pierced the air like a knife, a harsh reality cutting through the tension. The crowd jumped, the fear palpable. "Run!" someone yelled, chaos erupting, everything unraveled in an instant. Marcus looked around, his heart pounding, still positioned to protect the girl behind him. He couldn't think straight. The world spun. Faces morphed into blurs of confusion and panic. "Marcus!" "Gelite, wes caricatura." "You need to go," a voice shouted, pulling him out of the fog. But the man held his ground. "You can't escape the truth, not from them, or from yourself." As sirens closed in, the crowd began to scatter. But Marcus, frozen in place, felt the weight of the man's words. What truth? What did he do? And who was coming for him? With a pounding heart and trembling hands, he grasped the little girl's shoulders, searching her eyes for comfort. Or a connection to the past he thought he left behind. And just like that, The world around him went dark. Everything hung in the balance. What had he truly built? What was he prepared to lose? $1 million meant nothing if it cost him everything he cared about. And as the sirens blared louder, one question echoed in his mind. How deep did his secret run? As the morning sun peeked through the branches, casting a golden glow over the busy street, Marcus faced the world again. Freshly dressed in a tailored suit, he looked like a man on a mission. Yet underneath that polished exterior, a storm brewed. Whispers still chased him. Rumors, fear, excitement. The girl with the tearful eyes lingered in the back of his mind. Who was she, really? Why did he feel a pull towards her? The weight of his past threatened to unravel everything. Marcus turned the corner, heading towards a small cafe. The bell above the door rang, a welcoming sound. He ordered strong coffee, needing the boost. As he waited, he spotted a familiar face, a figure he hadn't seen in years. A chill washed over him. It was Alonzo, an old friend from the streets, now dressed sharply but with a look that screamed trouble. "Marcus!" Alonzo called out, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Man, it's been a while. You're turning into a legend out here." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "What do you want, Alonzo?" But before Alonzo could answer, the door burst open. A group of men stepped in, and the jovial atmosphere shifted. Their faces were hardened, eyes scanning the room like hawks. They clearly didn't belong here. "Marcus Johnson," one of them shouted, voice booming like thunder. "We need to talk." Panic flooded the cafe. The barista froze, hands trembling over the espresso machine. The whispers in the crowd grew louder, uncertainty thick in the air. Marcus felt trapped, like a deer caught in headlights. Who were these men? What did they want? "Leave him alone," Alonzo shot back, bravely standing in front of Marcus. "You don't know who you're messing with." Suddenly, without warning, the leader of the group lunged towards Marcus, gripping him by the collar. "You think you can run from your past? You thought we forgot?" Gasps filled the cafe. People pulled out their phones, recording the tension. The cameras focused on Marcus's shocked face, capturing every frantic heartbeat. But it wasn't the violent grit that shocked him. It was the burning recognition in the leader's eyes. Memories flooded back. Dark nights, deals made, secrets shared. "Wait," Marcus stammered, trying to process it all. "You're not supposed to be here." The leader smirked, a twisted smile that unveiled secrets Marcus hoped were buried forever. "You left us, Marcus, but you can't escape the family. You owe me." Alonzo stepped back, eyes darting between Marcus and the men. What is he talking about? What family? Marcus's heart raced as his mind raced faster. He had built a life, a business, but at what cost? The weight of his choices pressed down, suffocating him with awful clarity. "Just get out!" Marcus yelled, panic seeping into his voice. "I don't owe you anything." But the leader tightened his grip, eyes narrowing. "You do! And if you think you're untouchable now, think again. You'll need to settle your debts, Marcus. Your little fairy tale is about to crash." Silence fell over the cafe. The chaos melted away, replaced by a sharp, piercing reality. The dreams he built, the money he earned, all of it threatened to shatter. The world spun, and for a moment, he felt lightheaded, as if being lifted from the ground. And then, just as quickly, it happened. From the back of the room, a voice called out, breaking the tension. A woman stepped forward, tears streaming down her face, her wide eyes locked onto Marcus's. "Marcus, it's me. I'm here. I've been looking for you." The air thickened. Marcus's heart dropped. The girl from his dreams, the girl from that rainy corner. Who was she? How did she know him? Everything he thought he understood, twisted with shock. What truth waited to be unveiled? What connections ran deeper than he ever imagined? As he stared into her eyes, desperately seeking answers, one thought echoed in his mind. The path forward just got much more complicated. One moment, all seemed to be falling into place for Marcus. He was on a roll, gaining traction with his startup, fueled by the curiosity of the city and that touching video of him and the little girl. But just like that, the air shifted. A low rumble echoed through the streets. People ceased their chatter, eyes scanning the horizon. Marcus felt it first. Not just the noise, but a strange tension, electric in the air. He looked up, heart racing. A black SUV barreled down the road, tires screeching. It came to a sudden halt nearby, and the passenger door flung open. A figure jumped out, a man with a face carved from stone, cold and familiar. Marcus's breath snagged in his throat. It was Derek, a ghost from his past he thought was buried. "Marcus!" Derek shouted, eyes wild, pulse racing. "You gotta come with me. Now!" Confusion flickered across Marcus's face. "What are you talking about? I can't—" Before he could finish, Derek sprinted forward, grabbing Marcus's arm, pulling him with startling force. "They know! They know everything! You're in danger!" Gasps filled the air as bystanders turned to watch the scene unfold. The little girl, peeking from behind a lamppost, spotted Marcus's panic-stricken face. The crowd's murmurs turned into a chorus of bewilderment. But just as Marcus struggled to comprehend the warning, he noticed a flash of movement across the street. A woman in a coat, too familiar. His heart sank, recognizing her instantly. It was his mother, who he thought had left for good. Why was she here? Her face twisted in fear, eyes pleading. "Marcus!" she screamed. "Get away from him!" Panic seeped deeper into Marcus's chest, tightening like a vice. The tension snapped as people turned, murmurs escalating into shouts. What was happening? Why was his mother here? Why was Derek shaking? Before the answers could crystallize, gunshots cracked through the tension like thunder splitting the sky. Everyone hit the ground. Marcus felt a sharp tug at his heart. Derek pulled him down just in time. But the girl stood frozen, her terrified face reflecting a horror that was all too real. "Get to cover!" Derek bellowed. But the chaos had erupted. Marcus's mind raced. Was this all somehow connected to the dark whispers he'd heard? Was it fate? Or simply the reckoning of his secrets catching up to him? Amidst frantic movement and screams, Marcus's eyes locked onto his mother again. She was yelling, pointing at something unseen, eyes wild, eyes desperate. "Run!" she cried. "Marcus, run!" But he couldn't leave her. He couldn't abandon her. He could feel the pull of loyalty, the haunting thread of a taboo past. Suddenly, another loud bang punctuated the air, and he flinched. A figure stumbled out of the SUV, their silhouette ragged and dark. And then he saw it. Underneath the chaos, the figure was clutching something, holding it tight like a lifeline. The world blurred, muffled cries fading. The mystery deepened. Who was chasing Marcus? Who was his mother afraid of? And who was the girl that connected them all? The urgency glued him in place, forcing a choice he didn't want to make. Stay and protect, or flee and figure it out later? A trap set by the past, tangled in desperate survival. What would happen next? The questions spiraled, with danger closing in, uncertainty gripping tighter. And Marcus stood on the edge of his fate, heartbeat echoing like the gunshots that shattered the night. The world around Marcus seemed to crunch at the edges, reality folding under the weight of chaos. The weight of uncertainty wrapped around him, cold and suffocating. His heart pounded, caught between his mother's frantic calls and the violent echoes of gunfire that shattered the frantic stillness. "Marcus, run!" his mother screamed again, eyes wide and desperate. But what could he do? He needed answers. The girl's innocent face, that small reflection of hope, caught between fear and confusion, begged for protection. Surrounded by uncertainty and panic, he felt torn in two. Derek pulled at his arm tighter. "We have to go! Now!" But Marcus couldn't move. Not with the girl standing so close. Not with his mother shouting in terror. He felt the gravity of a terrible decision pulling him. The man from earlier still stood there, his face twisted with angry determination. "Get away from him!" he shouted again, spitting the words like venom. Then the air hummed, charged with impending doom. In the blink of an eye, everything shifted. A red flash pierced the shadows, slicing through the chaos. A deafening explosion erupted, sound and force ripping through the street like a knife. It knocked everyone to the ground. Glass shattered around them. The ground trembled underfoot. All at once, a blinding light engulfed everything. Marcus! He could barely hear her scream over the cacophony. Time stretched thin, seconds yawning into an eternity. He shielded the girl with his body, heart pounding, world spinning. There was chaos around him, cries of panic, bodies stumbling as if in slow motion. And then, silence. It wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, suddenly suffocating. As the dust settled, Marcus blinked, disoriented, hazy memories swirling. He lifted his head slowly, fear laces tightening in his chest. In front of him, the burly man lay motionless, surrounded by debris. The crowd moved like shadows, murmurs rising as they surveyed the horror. And then he spotted the girl, trembling beside him. But just behind her stood the figure, his mother, but not the way he remembered. She no longer looked scared. No, her face bore a calm certainty, eyes glistening with something he hadn't seen before. She wore a hard expression, steeling herself against the chaos. Suddenly, the air shifted again. A nearby police siren blared, cutting through the stunned silence. But it wasn't the sirens or the haunting cries that tore through the scene. It was what came next. "Mom?" he said, confusion spilling into his voice. She stepped closer, lips curling back as if restraining a bitter truth. "You need to understand something, Marcus." "What?" Disbelief colored his tone. "Your father, he's not who you think he is. He's involved. This whole thing, it's a setup." "What?" Marcus felt the ground shake beneath him. He glanced at Derek, confusion mirrored in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" "I had to protect you. All these years, I thought I could shield you. But they know everything now." Her voice turned urgent, fear slipping through her facade. "I never wanted you to find out, but..." Before she could finish, the girl tugged at Marcus's sleeve. "You have to believe her." Marcus turned back, eyes wide, heart racing. "What do you mean?" The girl drew a sharp breath. "I saw it all. I knew you'd come. And your mom, she's in danger. They're coming for both of you." The pieces started fitting together, twisting in his mind, a puzzle of shadows. "What did you see?" he asked, voice shaking. "Just before the explosion, I saw them talking. Your father and your mother. It's all a trap." Shock slammed into Marcus like a fist. "No way. You're lying." Anger surged. How could this be true? Then Marcus's mother stepped forward, voice shaking. "It's true, Marcus. We're too deep in this. I should have told you sooner." He stared, disbelief coiling tight in his chest. Everything he thought he knew fractured into pieces. What was real? What was a lie? A new fear washed over him, deeper than before. "Who can I trust?" he whispered, the words heavy on his tongue. But before they could answer, another explosion rang out, this time blindingly close. The ground shook again. In that moment, Marcus realized everything was about to change. Everything he thought he understood was on the verge of collapsing. And as clarity began to slip away, he knew they were running out of time. In the midst of the chaos, the question lingered. Who were they really? What secrets lay buried beneath the lies? The truth, twisted and dark, threatened to consume everything. And Marcus stood at the brink of revelation when he heard a very familiar voice rise above the rest, his father's voice commanding and cold. "Marcus, it's time to come home." And at that moment, the world cracked wide open as he felt the true weight of his uncertain fate crash down upon him. The air crackled with tension as Marcus stood frozen, his father's commanding voice echoing in his ears. Memories surged, colliding with the chaos around him. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, fear mixing with anger. Time to come home. What did that even mean? Then everything exploded again. The world brightened with blinding light, and he stumbled, disoriented. The girl. His focus snapped back to her as her small hand clutched his tightly. Her eyes widened with a mixture of fear and determination. "They're coming for us, Marcus," she yelled over the noise, her voice breaking the fog in his mind. But before he could respond, the ground shook violently. A shockwave ripped through the street, sending people flying like rag dolls. Dust kicked up in clouds, and screams pierced the air. In the madness, he lost sight of his mother, felt the pulse of panic rising higher. He turned back to the girl, breathless. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" But answering was impossible. Another explosion ripped through the area, loud and relentless. It sent shards of glass and debris flying, cutting through the air with deadly precision. Amidst the chaos, Marcus saw his mother again. She staggered, facing the SUV, where the dark figures loomed, ready to strike. "Marcus, listen to me!" But her voice was lost in the rumble of destruction. Then the unthinkable happened. A figure emerged from the wreckage, something flimsy but dangerous in their grip. Everyone held their breath. As the dust settled, the figure stepped into the light. It was his father, eyes cold, wicked, a cruel smirk dancing on his lips. "You've forgotten your place, haven't you, Marcus?" The world narrowed to that moment, a nail in Marcus's heart. You're alive?" His father laughed. "Did you think I was gone? You've been dancing around like a puppet, building your little empire on my name." The girl gasped. She'd heard the truth before. "No, Marcus, don't believe him. He's lying." But Marcus felt his stomach drop. What if everything he'd built was tied to his father's shadow? The memories he long buried clawed their way back, threatening to suffocate the man he'd become. "Stay away from him!" his mother yelled, a wild desperation in her eyes. But in the chaos, they didn't heed. Figures emerged from the shadows behind his father, dark suits blending with the smoke. Then, in a breathless twist of fate, Marcus's mother stepped forward, a trembling resolve coating her voice. "You know the truth, Marcus," she said, desperation lacing her words. "Your brother is alive. He's the one behind this." At that moment, the world around Marcus shattered. His breath hitched, confusion dancing with disbelief. "What?" But before she could answer, an eruption of fire ripped apart the sidewalk near them. It lit the sky, an inferno exploding with heart-stopping intensity. Bodies fell, screams erupted, and chaos surged like a wave. In the haze, all hell broke loose. Shouts became lost in the roar of violence. The girl stumbled backward, her face pale and terrified. "Marcus, run! We have to go!" As the flames licked the air, Marcus's heart twisted into knots. His mother, his father. Secrets suddenly busting into the open. Everything he thought he knew crumbled at his feet. The sirens grew louder, enveloping them like a desperate song of warning. But a new reality took root. He turned in a manic search for the girl. He had to protect her. The truth struggled against the backdrop of chaos, everything changing in an instant. One horrifying thought resonated in his mind. What if this was part of a plan? What if those he loved had been playing roles all along? Another explosion rocked the ground, knocking him off balance. He could feel the weight of all his choices, like lead chains wrapped around his heart. The people he trusted, twisted in the storm of betrayal. "Marcus!" someone called. But the voice was drowned. He turned, confusion swirling. "Where are you?" Fear tightened inside him as the flames grew, shadows closing in. The world around him faded in and out, whispers and chaos blending into disarray. And amidst it all, one question burned brighter than the flames. Who was really on his side? The chaos faded into an echoing silence as Marcus stood, adrenaline coursing through his veins. In this moment of stillness, fear and desperation mingled in his chest. His mother, alive yet distant, faced a past he couldn't comprehend. The girl beside him, her grip tight and hesitating, mirrored his turmoil. "Marcus!" his mother shouted, urgency woven into her tone. "You have to listen to me. It's not what you think." "Then tell me the truth." His voice cracked under the weight of his fear. What truth lay hidden in the shadows? What tangled web had his family spun around him? The fire flickered behind them, a reminder of the havoc unleashed. Around him, the crowd had shrunk, eyes wide in disbelief, mouths whispering questions, but none dared to step forward. Then Derek stepped out of the chaos, his eyes sharp, the urgency palpable. "I can't let you stay here." He looked past Marcus, gauging the distance between them and the danger lurking just behind them. "We need to move, now!" Marcus hesitated, torn between the desperate plea in Derek's voice and the chaos surrounding them. "What about her?" He pointed at the girl, but in that moment, she reached up and squeezed his hand tighter. "You have to trust him, Marcus." Her voice quivered, but there was a strength behind it. "I don't want to lose you too." With a conflicting storm of emotions swirling inside him, Marcus made a choice. "Okay," he nodded briskly. "Let's go." The urgency electrified him, pushing him to act despite the uncertainty clawing at him. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the girl's hand and took his mother's arm, propelling them away from the wreckage. The four of them sprinted around the corner, ducking behind a building, listening to the sirens merging with the pounding of his heart. Derek led the way, his eyes scanning for fresh dangers. "We have to get to my place. It's safe there." They dashed through twisting alleys, the city rushing by in blurred colors. The girl kept glancing back, fear sewn into her tiny features. "They won't stop," she gasped, panting heavily, desperation evident in her voice. "Keep running," Marcus urged, his voice shaking. They plunged forward until they reached an old, battered door. Derek kicked it open and shoved them inside, the dim light casting long shadows across the room. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Heavy and oppressive, they sank onto the worn-out furniture, catching their breaths. "Now," Marcus's mother said, gathering herself, "you need to know everything." Her eyes, usually so warm, now appeared steely and resolute. "A family isn't always what you think," she began slowly. "There are layers, hidden truths that can tear us apart. And your brother," she said, a hint of sadness breaking through. "He's alive, Marcus. We did what we had to do to keep you safe." Marcus felt the walls close in, his heart racing at the thought of a sibling he'd never known. "Why didn't you tell me?" "We thought it was better this way," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "But it's too late now. They're coming for you. For both of you." Catching his breath, he looked at the girl. Are you connected?" She nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I was meant to find you. I can help." Silence fell, heavy with the weight of looming danger and unspoken revelations. The warm glow of hope flickered briefly, but the cold reality clawed at their throats. As sirens continued to wail, a tense atmosphere surrounded them, igniting the air with uncertainty. The stakes were higher than ever, and still. A feeling twisted in Marcus's gut. What awaited them in the shadows? What choices lay ahead? Love? Fear? Betrayal? Derek shifted closer, determination written on his face. No matter what happens, we face it together. Marcus nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. Can we really? Is it possible to escape who we are? But before they could reflect further, a loud crash thundered from outside. A test of their resolve. The world outside threatened to crash into their fragile moment. As they steeled themselves, they knew one thing for sure. Whatever awaited them next would change everything. And amid the chaos, the old stories began to weave a new tale. One where paths crossed again. But as the tension built and the world shifted, an urgent sound echoed, pulling Marcus back to the present. The shrill ring of his phone, buzzing fervently in his pocket. Who was calling now? As the screen lights up, a familiar face flashed across. His father. What could he want? For a moment, Marcus froze, heart racing, caught between the past and the impending storm. And just then, a dim flicker of hope blended with a shadow of dread settled over him. This was only the beginning. Hey, if you loved this wild ride, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next chapter of this crazy journey. This is the moment to show your support. So smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. We want to see where this goes together. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what just happened. What do you think is next for Marcus? What's the truth behind his family? And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this shocking ending. Let's grow this community. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions.